All right, are we live? Well, fellas, are we live? Good. Hold on a second. I've got an echo here on my end. Let me take care of that. All right, there we go. All right. Well, I figured after all the piddling around I did earlier, I'm just going to say the heck with OBS for a bit. Just use Google Hangouts. Y'all let me know if this gets laggy or sounds bad or whatever. Let me look back to the chat while I was out taking care of business here. Hold on a second. Yeah, I checked out the second video topical and it did fix that. I just got afraid that if I clicked start streaming again in OBS, it would start another stream on me again like it did before. That was my only fear. Hey, Ace. Sorry, Golden, didn't mean to wake you up, but I figured, like I said a minute ago, I figured after all the messing around, I might as well at least do something, some kind of stream. So what do y'all want to talk about? Any suggestions? Anything but racism. Yeah, I'm going to deal with enough of that tonight. You know, if you all watched Bering's video from a couple of days ago, he kind of put out a challenge to people, and I'm going to answer it. So I'm going to be dealing with that enough tonight. My Christmas. It was pretty good. I got a new set of headphones, which I'm talking on now. Do they sound pretty good? New set of Turtle Beaches, which is easier for me when I'm live streaming than the setup I had before. Believe it or not, I had a Xbox 360 Rock Band microphone that I had duct taped to the top of a metal pole next to my chair. And that's what I had been using up to this point. And that's all I got. But I didn't ask for anything. That came from my youngest daughter and her husband. My biggest joy was just watching the grandkids open their stuff. They opened their stuff from me and their Aunt Boo, my youngest daughter, Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day after their mom got home because she had to work, so they had to wait till she got home. They opened all their presents, but yeah, I've got toys all over the place. Just more stuff for me to trip over. Oh yeah, of course. Give me a pair of ice grips and some duct tape. I can fix anything topical. Adam Selah. Where to start? Other than he's a race baiter, he's full of crap. Yeah, Philly D lit into him pretty good. Don't know if you guys seen it, but Suit Yourself has put out a video series on it. He split it up into 4 videos, which one of them features Tree of Logic, one of my favorites. And I mean, he done a real thorough job at taking him apart. But yeah, it's pretty obvious. But from his past, he's a prankster. And if you look through those videos that came out after him getting kicked off the plane, it's pretty obvious him and his buddy are, yeah, they're not being straight up. They're not being straight up. He's just race baiting, which honestly, between me, you, and the fence post, I don't know if he's intelligent enough to see how dangerous that is. I think he's only worried about the money and the clicks. He's not thinking about what could happen. My biggest thought, when I first heard it happen, was that he's lucky somebody like me or like Gunny, if any of you know Gunny, he's lucky somebody like us wasn't on that plane, because it could have turned out a whole lot worse. And he had just been on Philly D just the day before. Yeah, I watch Philip. I like him. He's a little milk toast sometimes, but that's okay. I get it. There's enough of us out there that take a stand. But he had just been on there earlier from a prank that he had pulled and was faked, where he had got into a suitcase, supposedly, and shipped himself overseas on an airplane. And it was found out later that was a fake. Yeah, Ren, we're Adam Selah. And I had posted, Philip always does on Fridays. He does a look through. Hey, Amanda, he always does a look through his comments of the week before, and I was kind of disappointed he changed that format this week, because I had made a comment on that video about shipping himself in the suitcase that got 200 likes, and I was kind of hoping I'd get a little bit of a shout out, but it was because and I'm talking about him shipping himself in the suitcase now, not the getting kicked off the plane, which happened just the day before, or just previous to. At least I didn't hear about it till the day before. I posted how dangerous that is some years ago, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I worked for a large shipping company. Shoot, I haven't worked there for a long time, so I can tell you it's Federal Express. And here in Indianapolis, we're the second largest hub in the Federal Express system, so it's a big place. Late 90s sometime, a friend of mine that worked on another load crew, because that's what I did at the time, was load the aircraft, got locked into the belly compartments of a 727-200, which is the exact same place that they would put your luggage on a passenger flight. Now, a lot of people lost their job over that, because if they'd have followed procedure, it couldn't have happened. But they didn't know he was up in there straightening up the cargo getting it battened down. They shut the door on him. He beat his fists to a bloody pulp on the inside of that door, but of course, with the jet engines going, nobody heard it. You couldn't hear a thing. Long story short, he flew from Indianapolis, Indiana to Richmond, Virginia without a coat in the dead of winter in a non-pressurized compartment. And they say the only thing that saved his life was that since it was a short trip, they never actually got high enough to completely restrict his oxygen. But when we didn't know where he was, he disappeared. His manager had come to me, said, hey, because we used to play games a lot. Excuse me. And that's what we do. Him and a group of guys that I knew from FedEx would meet up online and play video games. And even though we all worked for different managers, that's how we knew each other. So she said, help me look for him. I don't know where he's not checked in. So I went out to his car. I called his phone. We'd done everything. We finally found out where he went when he got to the other end. And when they opened the door at Richmond, Virginia, he literally fell out onto the tarmac, almost dead. They took him to the hospital. He, of course, had exposure from the temperatures and so forth. And there's not a lot of details out there because FedEx immediately settled with him, covered it up, hushed up. You probably won't find any news stories on it. FedEx is the single largest employer in Indianapolis. They even got a large section of Interstate 70 moved for him, for Pete's sake. So, yeah, they hushed it up pretty quick. They gave him a settlement, but he had to sign a non-disclosure. So he couldn't talk about it too much, but we called him Belly Dave from that day forward. But I know he got a good chunk of money. And I know that they changed the aircraft. I don't think they use those aircraft there anymore, but they installed handles on the insides so that he could get out. They put a light switch on the inside because it used to be when you shut the door, it automatically shut the lights off, so you were in dead darkness. And they also installed a pull cord that if you pulled on it, it sounded an alarm in the cockpit to let you know that, hey, there's somebody still in there. Stop and let them out. But yeah, because of that, I posted, Adam Sela pulls stupid stunts like all these pranksters do. I'm not a fan of the prank videos at all. None of them. Just not my thing. But they pull stunts like that, and some kid's going to watch it and try to do it before or do it before without thinking about it and end up dead because the only thing that saved him is it was a short trip. So they never got high enough to cut off his oxygen. Yes, it was before 9/11. After 9/11, we weren't allowed to jump seat anymore. It was a great place to work for a while. When I first went to work for FedEx, you could fly anywhere in the world they flew to for free, as long as there was room and they weren't overweight. So you could go to Hawaii over the weekend and fly back. You could go to Europe over the weekend and fly back, and lots of people did. But they had to cut that out after 9/11. So that was one of the perks they got rid of. But yeah, this latest thing, he's just race baiting. And again, it's dangerous. He's lucky there wasn't some idiot take his face off over pulling that stuff. And the next person that might try to copy him, that's my biggest kick against these prank channels. The next person that tries to copy him might get in a lot of trouble, might get hurt. Yeah, I agree. They're absolute cancer. Just not my thing. Of course, I remember when Jackass was the thing. I wasn't into that either. Just I don't mind stupid humor. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail, but there's such a thing as just too stupid. Well, there is a petition. Yeah. I was going to mention, Golden, there's a petition out. I don't have the link on me right now, but there's a a petition out to have him put on the no-fly list. And I think it would serve him right. All the pranks he's pulled on airlines, it would certainly be something he'd deserve. Yeah, topical, I know, but at 14, we think farts are funny. Well, wait a minute, I'm 56 and they're still funny. Maybe that's not a good example. Yeah, you're right, Ran. And the, the thing is I think that we're seeing a return back to more conservative nature with Trump being elected and all that stuff. And I think it's going to carry over into parts of Europe as well. And these people like him and all the snowflakes, of course, but people like Adam are going to find it harder to get away with the stuff that he's got away with, I think, here pretty soon. Yeah, I heard that George Michael died yesterday on Christmas Day, I believe it was. Yeah, I'm such a big Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail fan that my son, who's now in his early 30s, but when he was 3 years old, he would walk around saying, "Well, she turned me into a newt." And we watch it around here like some people do Rocky Horror Picture Show. We sit here and take turns and quote the lines at the screen and get drunk and just have a good time. It's a family thing, except for my wife. She hates the movie, so she finds something else to do. Yeah, Trump and Brexit are a good start. Topical, you're right, but yeah, we have to keep at it. Of course, this is a normal thing. When I'm not, I play off the being old thing, but I'm only 56. It's really not that old. I just feel old because I have 9 grandkids. But uh, it's a cyclical thing. It swings toward, the pendulum swings to the right, and then it'll swing back to the left, and it's back and forth. No, I haven't seen it yet, Ace, but my youngest daughter went to see it. She liked it. I've seen a lot of stuff that a lot of people talking about it, like Patriarchy Bear. If you got him on Twitter, he hated it, and he'll fight anybody that says that it had any worth whatsoever. But no, I haven't seen it. I'm yeah, I've got 9 grandkids. Yeah, and an amazing thing is out of those 9, only 2 are white. 4 are half black, and 3 are half Apache Indian. No, I wasn't that busy. As my 3 kids, crazy cat, it was my 3 kids. I swear I gave them the talk. I even told my girls about the aspirin method. Do y'all know what the aspirin method is? Well, if you don't know what the as thanks, Doggy, and Manic, thanks. Glad to hear. Hey, Muse. There you go, topical. You got it exactly. The aspirin's where you put that aspirin between your knees and keep it there. Ain't much can happen that way. But no, my son had 1 child. My youngest daughter had 3. My oldest daughter has 4, and I know that doesn't count up to 9, but she has a stepdaughter that we count as our own. She's the oldest. I mean, my grandfather wasn't blood related to me either. He was my dad's stepdad, but in my opinion, it's It's not just the blood, it's who does the job. Well, if she bent over, she might drop the aspirin, and she's in trouble, Cat. Yeah, my mom was a young parent as well, topical. I was 8. I'm the oldest of 3. Hey, Ronan. Um, I'm the oldest of 3. She was 18 when I was born. She was 16 when they got married. They did that more often in that day, back in the 50s. Mom was 16, dad was 19. They, of course, had to get signed permission. But yeah, I was born to a very young mother. They'll grow up before you know it, Ran. Trust me. I still swear I just blinked and they were adults. I don't know what happened. Now they all got their own lives and run and do their own thing. And the only reason I get to spend time with any of them is because my oldest daughter and her husband and their 4 kids live here with me in this house for now. They're hoping to get out by a little bit after the first year. Yes, I have a wife, Topical. I've been married 34 years. Um, we met a long time ago. One thing you all don't know is my father was the pastor of our church, and she went to our church. She's a couple of years younger than me, and I didn't know. No, it's not touchy. Uh, what I didn't know is she had a crush on me back then, and I was not the best of teenagers. I was more interested in just how much pot I could smoke or pills I could take or how much I could snort up my nose in those days than anything. But she would come and spend the night with my younger sisters. I'm the only boy. And just hoping to get a look at me, I found out later. Uh, but some years later, after I quit all the drug business garbage, and well, I was in business. I sold it too. That's how I kept myself in stash. But yeah, we kind of got together, and I was trying to look for a nice girl, and she was there, and the rest is history. So, yep, I have a wife. We've been married 34 years. She's at work right now. It's one of the reasons I have to wait until late at night to record most times, why my videos come out at the time that they do. One, it's the only time the grandkids are quiet enough that you won't hear them on the mic. And two, my setup is in the uh, bedroom, not 3 feet from the end of the bed. So when she has to sleep, because she's got to work at night, then I have to sit in here and be quiet and talk on Twitter and Minds and people's comment sections. Small businessman. Yeah, at times it wasn't so small. It darn near got me a pretty lengthy prison sentence on more than one occasion, Thuggy. I was not a very good young man. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, I was a drug addict, and my drug of choice was what we called angel dust, and what you would know as PCP. I was addicted to that for about a year. Wonder I've got any brain cells left. Yeah, I was a bad boy, Amanda. I did. I used to have a picture of me in my long hair down to the middle of my back with a blue bandana wrapped around my head. No, angel dust is no joke, man. It's not. Uh, but had a picture of me sitting at a table in. Have you all ever seen those little camper trailers that are streamlined? The old aluminum-looking streamlined camper trailers. My mom and dad had one of those out in their yard, and I lived in it. It's after I had moved away for a while and came back, and one of my sisters had took over my room, so couldn't get my room back. But so I moved out into that camper trailer, and yeah, like an Airstream. And it used to be a picture of me when I first got married, sitting at the table in there with some buddies of mine with my long hair and a bandana rolled up and tied around my head like a headband, and cutting up a pound of marijuana on the table in front of me. Yeah, my wife, who's pretty straight laced, she rarely ever drinks, has never done drugs, none of that stuff. So she got a hold of that picture and it disappeared somewhere. Oh yeah, the little trailer was perfect for me at the time. After that, my mom and dad bought some property about an hour west of Indianapolis, um, in an area called Kunot, and you probably won't find that on a map. But they bought some property out there, and they moved the trailer out there and built a cabin, and it was pretty good. Yeah, I lucked out, Golden. I got out of. I've got a lot of friends that used to do that with me, the angel dust and everything, that are not much more than slobbering zombies. They just fried their brain out. So I get really lucky. I did. Wrong tab, psycho. Sure. There's a few pictures of me around with my long hair. I think I've still got my Ren. I still think I got my senior picture. All decked out in my matching denim outfit. Black bell bottoms and vests. And I graduated in 1978. So, yeah, my senior picture, I had the hair down in the middle of my back and had the denim vest and the matching pants and the big heeled platform shoes, the whole bit, and the polyester shirt. Almost a denim suit. And I did have a denim suit a little bit later, or I had a denim suit earlier, but I didn't wear the full suit. I had a jacket that went with it, but I didn't wear it. I'm with you, Psycho. I'm ready to take our tree down and get all this stuff down out of the way, but I get overruled. I graduated when your mom was 6. Thank you for making me feel so young. Both topical. I'm really pretty much a headbanger. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I really got a very wide taste in music. Um, I mean, I love classical music like Beethoven, Bach. My favorite is Tchaikovsky. I love big band music like Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller and all those guys. I like bluegrass. Don't care much for country, but I love bluegrass, if that makes any sense, because to me, bluegrass is the metal of country. But if I have my druthers, if I'm going to sit down and listen, it will be either a classic rock song, and yes, I love the Beatles, or it'll be heavy metal. Not so much a hair metal, but I'm talking more like Black Sabbath type of thing. I was really into that. Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Neil Young. Oh my, I could go on and on. I spent a big part of yesterday morning waiting for the grandkids to wait up, just searching out Rush videos on YouTube and listening to them and rocking out. So yeah, I got pretty wide taste. Iron Maiden's not too bad. It's a little after my time. Like I said, I graduated in '78. Yeah, Aerosmith was went through a lot of changes. They did, but they are still classified, I think, as a blues rock band when it's all said and done. But yeah, I love prog rock. I like I said, Rush. I mean, in my opinion, Neil Peart is the best living drummer today. I didn't say the best rock drummer ever, but the best one alive today. And if you don't believe me, go watch any of their videos and watch what he does with that insane drum kit and never breaks a sweat. But I like Yes, Styx, Kansas, old Kansas. That could all be considered prog rock. But I also listen to a lot of newer stuff than that. Hey, Gunny, was just talking about you, buddy. Uh, oh, Queen. Ace Queen is the very first concert I ever went to in 1975 when the Night at the Opera was just making, that was their album, that was the tour, and that was their very first song was Bohemian Rhapsody. And it was awesome. Of course, everybody back then knew Freddie was gay. We just didn't talk about it. Oh, I know, Golden. I already made that connection. I've even thought about bringing it up with you, but yeah, I recognize the Beatles tune, "Golden Slumber." Yeah, poor Freddie. Poor Freddie. He died too young, you know. Um, and but yeah, I like Queen, and I do like some newer stuff than that. Not necessarily new stuff because I'm a little out of touch the last couple of years, but I used to try to keep up. I remember when my two oldest were in high school, some of her friends, and she hung out with all the goth kids, you know, the black fingernails and the dog collars and those stupid, what are they, Janko jeans that were huge all up and down the leg. And she had some friends over and she walked up to me and said, Dad, can I borrow your Disturbed CD? her, her friends just, their chin hit the floor, says, your dad listens to Disturbed? And my daughter's like, yeah, doesn't yours? That's true, Muse. A lot of them went too soon. You could go all the way back uh, to Hendrix and to, um, oh my goodness, somebody help me. My brain just went dead. I could see her right in front of it. Janis Joplin. I was just talking about her the other day with someone, and uh, and all the way up. It seems like the good ones always leave too soon. Yeah, new metal's okay sometimes. I'm not into all of it. I'm not particularly into the death metal where they growl. Yeah, I like to at least have a chance to hear what they're saying. I don't mind loud screaming and hoarseness, but you know, quit swallowing the mic. Your favorites? Who Wants to Live? Mine is Prophet's Song off of the A Night at the Opera album. Same album as Bohemian Rhapsody. Love that song. If you've never heard it, pull it up on YouTube, stick some headphones on, and close your eyes. Yeah, I mean it's awesome. We would agree, Amanda. But I had, you know, when I say classic rock, I had a lot of uh, varied tastes. I mean, anything from, like I said, I was hugely into Black Sabbath, major into Black Sabbath. But I'd also go as far as, I loved Bob Seger. My guilty pleasure was Fleetwood Mac. Oh my, I had the biggest crush on Stevie Nicks back then. Every boy I knew had Farrah Fawcett up on their wall then. Not me. I had Stevie. But my even to Simon and Garfunkel, to the quieter, more mellow stuff, it runs the gamut. Yeah, I remember Prism, Gunny. Better than without Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah, I actually got to see Blue Oyster Cult during the Black and Blue tour when they and Black Sabbath were touring together. If anybody remembers that, anybody old enough to remember that. Yeah, that's true. Topical. That is true. But oh God, her voice, even to this day, is still just it's just so different, so unique. And God, she was hot back in the day. Yeah, it was a Toggy. They called it the Black and Blue Tour. Uh, Muse. I've been to so many concerts. I doubt I could sit here and name them all off. That I mean, that was my pastime, and it was cheap back then. I mean, you could go to a concert for $8, and we're talking, a major act. You could go. Of course, that was also back in the days of arena seating, which they eventually uh, outlawed arena seating in most states in the United States because of the tragedy at the Who concert in Ohio. If you all know what that was. You don't. Okay, well, maybe that'll give me something to talk about. Um, I've seen the only time I've seen Ozzy, Amanda, is when I've seen him with Black Sabbath. And I'll talk about that, and then I'll talk about the arena seating thing. Um, it was right before Ozzy. The last time I seen him was right before Ozzy left Black Sabbath, and he was so wasted. You could tell it. He was slurring his words even more than usual, and it was to the point it was almost awful. It was almost disappointing. But the big major redeeming factor of that concert is the warm-up band was this little band from California that no one here in Indianapolis had ever heard of. Their songs hadn't hit our radio yet, but man, they blew us away. It was a little band called Van Halen, and they saved the show. But okay, arena seating, and I don't remember what year this was. See, arena seating back when I was a kid, a teenager, and going to concerts, they had arena seating, which meant uh, you wanted to be the first at the concert venue because it was first come first serve. That's what arena seating was. The first people there got the best seats, so you didn't pay extra for floor seats or anything like that. You just showed up early. Earlier you showed up, better seats you had. The Who were doing a concert in Ohio, and the crowds were gathered outside the doors, and somebody in the back started pushing, and somebody in front of them started pushing, and people started pushing, and long story short, several people ended up getting severely injured, and a few were even killed, crushed to death against the doors on the outside of the arena, people trying to get in. After that, most states outlawed arena seating, and that's why when you go to a concert today, in most venues, you're going to purchase a particular seat. I agree, Gunny. Stevie Ray Vaughan is hard to beat. Hard to beat. And unfortunately, he's another one of those that left us a little bit too early, didn't he? And yes, of course, Hendrix was the master. I mean, we wouldn't have some of the heavy music we have today without Hendrix. He played a right-handed guitar, left-handed and upside down, and done things with it that I'm not sure that anybody still yet does today. He was so ahead of his time that when he played here in the States, people didn't get it. It took him going overseas to England and making a big hit there and coming back before people here started getting it. They just didn't get him. Hot for teacher, huh? There's harder songs that Eddie's played than that. What's the name of the one? It's just a real short lead into one of the songs. Hardest thing on Rock Band. Oh my gosh, I couldn't get through it even on medium. Randy Rhoads, yeah. Oh, that's interesting, Amanda. That's interesting. Uh, my only claim to fame like that is, and I can't go into too much detail without doxing myself by my name, but I am told that we are distantly related to the person that invented the Polaroid camera, for whatever that's worth. We actually have a town of that same name here, Thoggy, except we Hoosiers, we call it Carmel, and I think you call it Carmel. Oh, heck no, I didn't see any of that Polaroid money. Are you kidding me? No, I was raised poor when uh yeah, I don't know about being photogenic, Ace. No, I was raised poor. My parents tried hard. My dad worked hard all his life, and he eventually made good money working for the post office. He's retired from the post office now. My mother passed away on her birthday. It'll be 2 years ago in February, but my dad's still alive. And but early when I was little, before both my sisters were born, or slightly after, we were pretty dirt poor. I can remember lots of time that supper was white bread and grease gravy because that's all we could afford. But we didn't know any better, you know. We didn't know that other people didn't eat the same stuff, and we happened to like gravy. You're distant related to your mother, psycho. Uh, June Carter and Johnny Cash. There's an excellent excellent documentary, a biography on the Carter family on Netflix. If you've never watched it, watch it. It's excellent. Unless he pays up, I might be able to scrounge up about 75 cents here behind me, doggy. If that'll do it. Yeah, and I did too, Amanda. Lots of beans, cornbread, homemade cornbread and homemade biscuits. But we couldn't even afford what my mom called WAP biscuits. The store bought ones. We called them WAP biscuits because you whop them on the counter to open them up. We couldn't even afford those. It was Bisquick or nothing. But you don't know any better, or at least I didn't. For all I knew, everybody lived like that. It wasn't until I got older that I realized how poor we were. He made her violin. Wow, he was talented. My oldest grandson has just started playing the violin. It's a little squeaky, but he doesn't do too bad. It hits a sour note once in a while, make you put your teeth on edge. But oh, we didn't even get welfare. Topical. Dad was too proud. He was too proud. He just worked his butt off. He worked 2 and 3 jobs when he had to, and until he landed the post office job in 1966. That's just the way it was. Mom made our own clothes. Some of you may be too young to remember the Spiegel, and there was another brand that I can't remember, but the dress patterns, you'd buy patterns or clothes patterns. They were just like real thin tissue paper and had patterns. Mom would buy those and make all us kids our clothes. And, you know, we got by. We got by all right. Old black and white TVs. Of course, most of them were back then. And forget about having a remote control. I was the remote control. My dad would say, "Go change that channel, boy." So I'd grab the pair of pliers off the top of the TV because those channel selectors always broke in those days, and turn the channel, and then move the antenna till we got her in. Yes, Ronan, I absolutely remember S&H green stamps, and we also had top value yellow stamps. And my mom used to collect those. It's no secret I live in Indianapolis, so I can. Standard supermarkets gave away the green stamps. Kroger gave away the yellow stamps. Mom would collect them both, and we would spend hours licking those things and sticking them in the books until she had enough to go down to the local green stamp store or the yellow stamp store and trade those in for a mixture or whatever it was. I absolutely remember those. There was plenty of times we didn't have a TV, Thoggy. You know, uh, we had to depend on somebody to give us one out of the goodness of their heart because we couldn't afford to buy one. But I can remember, I used to watch Star Trek when it was first run on network television, and it was probably into the 70s before I realized that they all had different colored uniforms because to me they all look gray. Well seasoned. There you go. Yeah, I know, Thoggy. Yeah, I was 16 years old by the time we got our first collar set. So, and then it ended up getting stolen like 2 months later. Yeah, Muse, I've been there, done that many times. Nope, stay right there. Don't move. I remember when cable was first coming through. Uh, Actually, what even fully cable, it was the only thing came through was HBO, and you had to get this big box just to get the HBO. Yeah, I remember Psycho. I actually lived on the West Coast during most of 1979, so I got to see that ocean before it got too dirtied up. Well, you probably got a pretty good point there, Topical, and also um, most of them that are in the chat that are anywhere near my age also had parents like mine that came out of the depression. My parents were born, my dad was born in 39, mom in 42, so they come right at the end of the depression. My dad grew up in the hills of Kentucky. I mean, there wasn't even roads that went to his house. You had to get as close as you could and park the car on a side of a dirt road and walk through the woods to get to their house. So, but coming out of that, coming out of the depression and extreme poverty like that, they saved everything, and they were very practical, and they taught us kids to be practical. So yeah, you probably got somewhat of a point there that growing up poor helps us see the BS, because I think a lot of those special snowflakes are at least upper middle class kids that don't know what it is to be told no. I did not have to go to Vietnam. It was close. Um, they pulled the last troops out, I believe, in 1975, and I didn't turn 18 till 78. So it was close enough that I was feeling the heat. Remember, my entire life up to that point, that's all I knew. Boys grew up, got 18, went to the draft. That's just the way it was back then. Excuse me, gonna make a little bit of noise here. My poor old trusty Zippo has kicked its flint. Yes, I know it's a nasty habit, but it's one I've had for a long time, and be pretty hard to break. So keep talking. I'll try to glance up and see what the chat says. Yeah, it's a Zippo. I love them. Love my Zippo, but they always either kick the flint or run out of fluid at the worst possible time. But they will light in a windstorm. What am I smoking? Uh, I uh, I don't smoke reefer anymore. I haven't for 35 years. Although outlaw, if they legalize it here in Indiana, I got to say I'd probably be in line to toke up again. But no, just smoking cigarettes. I make my own. Make my own. I use the tubes and make my own homemade cigarettes. Save a lot of money that way. You collect them Zippos? Yeah, some of them old Zippos are worth money, Gunny. Well, the Zippo I'm using right now is actually one I won in a Texas Hold'em poker game. I told the guy not to put it up, but he did anyway. And yeah, we're a lot alike, Gunny. Of course, I don't have many tools left. I worked in car repair business for a large portion of my adult life, and when I got physically unable to do any of that, I sold a lot of my tools. But uh, I sure love my lighters and my dogs, and I'd love my guns a lot more if my wife wasn't so anti-gun. But I can't blame her. I've mentioned that on stream before, and people picked on her. But my wife had a pretty rough upbringing, and and notice I said one of her ex father-in-laws used to pull a gun on her and molest her all the time. So I understand. I get it. Yeah, it it might that Muse, and Indiana is certainly a red state, as red as it can be. In fact, the only time it's voted blue in recent history was when Obama was elected, to my shame. But not that I voted for him, but my state did. So we'll probably be among one of the last to legalize marijuana. You're right, Muse. Coffee is life. In fact, I'm sitting here looking at my empty coffee cup and wondering why I didn't go make some more. I've drank so much coffee and so immune to the caffeine that I can actually drink half a pot and lay right down, go to sleep. Doesn't affect me at all. I have to get up and go pee. And I drink my coffee black, strong, no sugar. I don't believe in that foo-foo stuff. Oh, bacon's food of the gods. Who doesn't like bacon? Well, unless you're Muslim or a Jew. And I suspicion some of them secretly like bacon. Geez, Goody. She liked it pretty rough, didn't she? Yeah, all my quote unquote servants are asleep. I call them my grandkids. Hey, you go get me some coffee. In fact, my 9-year-old grandson does know how to make coffee. That's one of the first things I taught him. But you mentioned that, since I'm just rambling and telling stories, and you all seem to be eating it up. So you mentioned that story of your girlfriend shooting you, Gunny. I have a cousin. He's now passed away, but several years ago, and he lived 2 doors down from one of my aunts. My aunt was on my mom's side of the family. That cousin's on my dad's side, but they lived close to each other. He comes stumbling out and into the yard at like 2 o'clock in the morning and collapsed in the front yard. Come to find out, his wife he'd come home drunk. She'd got mad at him and she shot him in the head while he laid in bed. But the bullet, I think she used a 22, bounced off his skull, traveled around his skull, and come out the other side. Weirdest thing ever seen. But he had this big scar on the side of his head. And yeah, they got divorced. Well, Amanda, I don't have a lot of control over that. His mom and dad live here too, so they don't let me get too rough on him. I was like you, I used to make, when I was 6 years old, I made a allowance of a quarter. Of course, a quarter went a lot further in 1966, but I had a lot of work to do for that quarter. I had to go take the trash out and burn it. You could still burn it in city limits in those days, and all of that. Good night, Golden. Good night, Slumber. Thanks for coming out. I hear you, Ronan. I hear you. I'm got some Cherokee in me myself. I don't know what it would. I'm not good with the math stuff. My great grandmother was full blooded Cherokee Indian. Hey, Ferg, what's going on? Welcome to the Madhouse. I'm just in here rambling on about whatever, and they seem to be laughing it up. If I knew it was this easy, I'd done this a long time ago. Yeah, it was quite a lot of money, but I had to do a lot of stuff for that quarter. I had to take that trash out and burn it. Had to keep my room picked up, which was the hardest part. Carry the garbage it wouldn't burn all the way out to the street, and we had a big front yard. And I would supplement my income by going out picking up pop bottles, turn them in. At that time, it's not like that now. All the farms are gone. But at that time, uh, there were a lot of farms within a half mile. I'd go pick tomatoes. I'd go pick corn, shuck corn, shovel walks, mow grass, whatever I had to do. It's just the way it was. It snowed here just the other day. We got about 3 or 4 inches. It was last week sometime, and some young 10-year-old kid come up knocking on the door and asked if he could shovel our walk. I didn't have any money, but I went and scrounged. I gave him my last $10 because dadgummit, you got to reward that kind of gumption. Yeah, I hear you, Gunny. My grandfather on my mother's side, on the other side from the Cherokee, was a German Jew. So yeah, and he lived at a bad time to be that. Am I still poor? Yeah, I would say I'm poor. Lower middle class. We probably take in about oh, $20,000 a year now that I've been unable to work. I'm disabled, but unfortunately, they won't let me collect disability because it's been abused too much. So I keep applying and I keep getting turned down, but I can't work. I have a disease that's called PAD, or peripheral arterial disease, which is just a big fancy word for saying I don't get proper blood flow to my extremities, my arms and legs, but especially my legs. Don't look that up if you're eating. Don't look up PAD on Wikipedia, because there's some pretty gross pictures. Mine isn't that bad yet, but it does make it very difficult to walk. My avatar has a cane for a reason, because I really do walk with a cane in real life, and I'm not too proud. I'd go turn hamburgers over at rallies. I don't care, but I wouldn't be able to stand there and do it. Yeah, you're right, Gunny. It's my white privilege. You're exactly right. But we do okay. I don't mean to sound like that I'm complaining, because we ain't. My wife's got a good job. She still works at FedEx. She's been there for well over 20 years, and makes about $17 an hour. Unfortunately, if you know anything about FedEx, you know that almost every job there is part time. So she only gets about 30 to 40 hours a week unless she volunteers for extra hours, which is what she's doing tonight. But we do okay. We make it. You know, there might only be a jar of peanut butter and some white bread in there to eat, but we got food. You know what I'm saying? I might have to do that sometime, Muse. My problem is right now, and I don't mean to get started on this. I got on it on a live stream the other day. I don't remember which one, but uh, there was a time through my wife's work at FedEx, she had really good insurance. Had the $15 office visits, the $10 prescription, that kind. And I was on a regular regiment of medications and therapy and going to the doctor. And a lot of it was my cholesterol and keeping my cholesterol down and all that. But then came Obamacare. And I'm all for making sure poor people's got insurance, but not if I got to pay for it. I'm sorry, I'm not that generous. And it ruined our insurance. And the very next time, how it re-ups every year, that when you work, it re-ups time to sign up for your insurance again. When it came time, all that stuff was dropped. It all had this uh, huge deductible that I can't even hope to cover. My doctor is like $90 just to go walk in his office. We can't afford that. And so for like the last, well, since Obamacare, I haven't been able to see a doctor since. Can't afford it. Yeah, topical. You would think I wouldn't, but we're what I term as the working poor. We work hard. We try to make a living. That's part of what I'm doing here on YouTube. I mean, I don't expect to make. I'm not going to make PewDiePie money at this. I'm not even going to make bearing money at this. But I do hope that someday in the future that I'm able to make a dollar or two off this channel. Of course, you have to have over 1,000 subs to be able to collect that money, but that's why I started my second channel, which I've been neglecting. That's going to be the money cow, I hope, where I read scary stories and creepy pastas and so forth. I've kind of neglected it the last couple of weeks because I've been so busy with this channel and trying to make it grow. But I hope so. But that's not why I do this. I do it because I really enjoy it. I done it and immediately fell in love with it. Thanks to Suit Yourself. He's the one that got me started in this or taught me into it. Uh, 3 days of making fake accounts. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that. I'd rather earn it. I'm old fashioned. I'd rather earn it the hard way. And I'm proud of what I've got here. I'm proud of you guys that sub to me. Some of you came from shout outs from other channels, but the majority of what I have just stumbled upon me or heard me in a live stream, and I'm proud of that. And I don't expect to ever be huge, but I'll do okay. But we do all right. I call us the working poor. Yes, he is, Amanda. He is, and we make too much money. We fall right in that little category where we make too much money to get any help from the government, but we don't make enough money to hardly make it, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're working poor. That's possible. Topical. I like a gal. We become friends real quick. I actually only met him just a couple of weeks ago, but we hit it off real fast. Yeah, Psycho, you did. He's a good guy. You see a three-fingered mutant. He sure is. He's a good guy. I, what happens? I got to talking to him in his comment section one time. I said, "What do you think? Do you think I could do this?" And he said, "Yeah, probably." So I made a video and I asked him to go look at it. And Suit was actually one of my first subscriptions. He was the first one among one of the first people to sub to me. I know, Amanda. It's a tough if it's a tough spot to be in. Um, it really is, And I mean, you get by, you learn. As well as I do. You learn to do with what you do. When life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. And you don't beef about it. You don't complain about it. You pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you go do something about it, whatever you can do. And that's why I'm got into the YouTube game, because that I could do, because I could sit down and do that. Or now that I've got my new headphones with the longer cord, I can get up and walk around because it hurts to sit too long too. Exactly. Yeah. You get up, and that's what these kids we call the snowflakes today, they just don't get it. They get told no, or they don't get the person they don't want elected, or whatever it is that they didn't want, and they pitch a screaming Mimi fit, and burn the city half down. Shoot, to heck with that, I was just telling my granddaughter the other day, she fell down, skinned her knees a little bit of it. And I said, yeah, take morphine. I said, now, sweetie, I understand your knees hurt, but is the crying helping? No. Then why are you crying? I don't know. Then stop. Get up, rub some dirt on it, and you'll be all right. Yeah, I'd like to get a new chair, Psycho. My top of my bucket list right now, though, is a new mic. I really want to get a new mic, and then after that, a better laptop. But that's down the road. That's down the road. Till then, I'll make do the best I can with what I got. And that's, Amanda, that's really the main reason I do the kind of content that I do, because I really see the extreme left, the social justice warriors, the crybabies, as being dangerous to our society. I really do. And I look at it as a service and trying to wake people up to see. Because if we keep going the way they're going, we're going to have an entire generation of people that can't fend for themselves. Thanks, crazy. That's because my new headset. Walk off from over Office Max. You're exactly right, Muse. You're exactly right. It is a form of brainwashing. It really is. Uh, I think they're just a lot of them are just kids that that were never told no, and so they don't know how to take no, and everything's got to be their way. Thanks, Topical. I had a headset kind of like this before, right before I started doing YouTube, but um, they broke. They quit. One side quit working. It was just too awkward. If you look at some of my very, very, very early, like the first 2 or 3 videos, which are cringy as heck, before I really knew what I was doing. Not that I really do now, but uh, I actually recorded those with that broken headset wrapped around my neck with the microphone twisted up in front of my mouth. No, they probably don't have a recollection of life before Obama, and that's absolutely true. Um, I mean, of course, it's easy for somebody my age and some of you out there to say, well, in my day, and I don't want to get in that mode. I don't want to get in that rut. Uh, but it sure was a different time. They are Turtle Beaches. Hold on, I'll have to take them off just a second, crazy, to tell you the model. Hold on. Says they are Air Force X-12s. Muse, you're absolutely right. I said right from the beginning that Shelly Dude was a Poe, but because the stuff he was spouting would have been so dangerous for children to stumble upon. Yeah, the gloves were off. All bets were off. He had coming uh, what he got. Honestly, Topical, I didn't vote either. I just, for one, and in my defense, I live in a very red state. I knew they'd go for Trump anyway. Yeah, he got the attention. Shelley got the attention he wanted, just not in the way that he wanted. Oh, I done a video on that oddball queer kid stuff. And if you get me talking on that very much, you're going to get me fired up, because the one big important thing in my life are my grandkids. They are my life. I mean, I put across the grumpy stuff, and I do that. I'm like that in real life. That's really me. I really am a grumpy old man. But when I grump at my grandkids, they just grin at me because they know they got me figured out. But I watch that career kid stuff, and all I can think of is how would I feel if one of my grandkids stumbled on that, and they're on YouTube all the time. My daughter and her husband got several old phones that will still hook up to the Wi-Fi, and they get on YouTube, and we try to watch what they're watching. But what if they stumble on something like that by appearances looks like it's a kiddie show? Now, I've warned my daughter against that channel specifically. I said, you keep your eye out, make sure they don't watch this garbage. But it, it's child abuse, and that woman is sick. And I'm usually not for shutting down channels or no platforming anybody. But for her, I think I'd make an exception. I think it should be taken right off of YouTube. It has it's oh, I better stop. Yeah, I remember that Psycho. I did. I seen it. Yep. Yeah, Rory's Christmas song. Did any of y'all happen to sit in on his live stream on Christmas Eve? There's a petition against her music. That's I might have to look that up because yeah, she's got no place. Yeah, that live stream when he was telling people to grab a spoon and wait for Santa at the door. I was losing. He is the funniest guy sometimes. It was Christmas Eve for us, T Fizzle, or at least it was for me. Rory is an acquired taste. He doesn't care what he says, and he's really not there to make too many valid arguments. He's just there to be funny and to give them crap at the same time. As long as you understand that, then it's easy. But I can see where he wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea. That's for sure. Oh, I'm subbed to so many channels I can't keep up with them anymore. Everybody's talking about check, make sure you're not getting sub to my channel. I wouldn't know if I was or not for a long time because I've got so many. Yeah. Yes, he is evil. Gunny, he is. Yeah, and the thing is, topical that most of the channels I sub to are ones I really want to see their content. Now, there's a few that I went in there that, hey, if you sub to me, I'll sub to you. A couple of people I've met on mines, but not very many, just a couple. Most of them, and that I've subbed to, I really want to see what they have to say, but it's got so crazy now, and I'm so busy, doing my own videos, which takes. If you've never done a video for YouTube, some of you might be able to do it a lot quicker than me, but it takes a lot of hours. It takes a lot. I do far more research than you may think or you may believe before I do a video. Now I always do the videos without a script, and I generally do it in one take. Not always, but generally. But it still takes me a lot of hours. So between that and just everyday life, it's hard for me to keep up. So I've just had to start picking and choosing which ones look the best to me and watch them. What I call us a community. Uh, I really don't like that term personally. That's the reason if you ever hear my uh, if you hear my videos, you'll hear me say this corner of YouTube or this area of YouTube rather than saying this community. Um, I get it. Communities are made up of a lot of different people. But when you start to get to know some of the content creators behind the scenes a little bit, like I've started to, and anybody that makes content for a little while does, uh, there's some big differences between a lot of us. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least, and I'm not doomsaying, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if there wasn't a split of some sort somewhere down the road. And what I think it will do is it'll come from the really strong anti-theist, anti-atheists will break off from those that don't care so much about that anymore. But whether it's that or something else, I think it will. Uh, I think we've got a split coming up if you look at it, and I'm not going to call any names or anything like that, but um, yeah, a genre would probably a genre. I always do that. My son picks on me for calling it a genre. A genre would be more accurate for sure. But if you look at what people call our quote unquote community, uh, we're all different. I mean, uh, we're very much different. Um, I get it. It makes it easy and call it a community. And that way people know that you're all talking about those that are against social justice warriors and feminists and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing that term just kind of rubs me the wrong way. A lot of them did come from the atheist community. A lot of them did, and I've got no problem with that. And I've never, unless I've done it and forgotten, I've never come out and said what my belief system is or what my lack of belief system is. I try to keep that off my YouTube channel because that's my personal feeling, and that's not what I want to base my YouTube channel on. The only time I have a problem with it is where uh, 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 and it can come from either side, either the Christian community or the atheist community, where they get so full of their own dogma that they can't work with the other side. And that bothers me. That really bothers me. The atheists that think just because you're a Christian, you're an idiot and can't think logically, and nothing you say has any merit. Yeah, I don't like that. And the Christian that just because you're an atheist, that you're evil and you're the Antichrist, and I can't associate with you. Yeah, I don't like that either. I'd prefer to that people. Uh, let's be honest. Western society is built on. One of the things it's built on is to be able to come together regardless of differences. Because if you're looking for groupthink, if you're waiting for when everybody agrees on every single point, you will wait forever, because that will never happen. The way Western society works is by picking out those things that we can work together on, that we can agree on, and focusing and fixing on that, and maybe letting the other things that we don't agree on either become non-important or work themselves out. If that makes any sense to y'all. And that's the idea I would like to get to, Amanda, about when I say community. Unfortunately, I just don't think that that's what we have here. It may appear like it on the surface, but when you get to knowing some of these people behind the scenes, like I've got to, and like I mean, you're bound to when you're in the community making content for a while. Um, there's some irreconcilable differences between some of us that might not just show, but it's there. It, you know, as it is, the circle I've surrounded myself with, and I've got some friends in YouTube. I certainly have. There's people I would call friends. Uh, and yeah, you're bound to pop up. You get around almost as much as I do, Amanda. Almost. You're pretty close. But I count Suit Yourself as a friend. Your boy Pat, Base Mama, Irate Bear, Egal, uh, Danny, Danny the Dingo. I count all those, and there's more. And I know I'm liable to forget somebody if I keep it and maybe hurt somebody's feelings. I've got a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends, and so the circle that I surround myself with, I think, are all people that think like I do, and that regardless of our differences, here's something in front of us, this SJW crusade that we can all work together on. Sorry, Ferg. Sorry. I've thought about it, Gunny. I've heard the name many times. I've heard Bering mention him. I've heard Suit mention him. I've heard different ones mention him, and Peach Bailey. I just haven't done it yet. Uh, which makes me think, Gunny, do you know who Tree of Logic is? Because if you haven't checked her out, she would be right up your alley. And I've actually become fairly good friends with her now. Yeah, Tree's awesome. She'll be having a live stream tomorrow, and I'll be there because I'm her only moderator. And I'm only there because she gets a lot of Muslims that come in and give her stuff because she's always doing anti-Muslim content. So I'm just there to kick the muzzies out when they go nuts. Well, you can always watch it later, Thoggy. Yes, she did live in Germany for a while. Speaking of Misa, she woke up this morning, according to her Twitter post, really sorry that she got so drunk last night on that stream. I had tried to warn her in the chat. I tried to warn her. She didn't listen. Oh, yeah, Amanda. Trilogic is a black woman. She's an ex police officer. She's a gun fanatic. She's a martial arts fanatic. Uh, she is very anti-Muslim. She's very anti-BLM. Has the greatest laugh in the world, and she talks straight up. She doesn't give you any sugar. She doesn't give you any BS. She gives you the straight up. Let's see. Let me copy that, Gunny, and I'll watch it here later after I get done with this live stream here, which will probably be pretty soon because my voice is starting to run out. But I've got to get busy on that video for Bering done that challenge on the white privilege piece, and I'm going to try to submit a video for that. Oh yeah, motorcycle. I forgot the motorcycle ace. You're right. Yep. How long have I? See you, Manny. Thanks for the help. Thanks for trying to help me out earlier, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I do watch Mara Jane sometimes. I'm not sub to her simply because I've got so many subs. I've watched her. I talk to her quite a bit on Twitter as well. Yeah, Tree hates Merkel. She's the only other one on YouTube that uses the word heifer like I do that I know of. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Gary Orson because I have heard about him, but oh Lord, my short term memory is so bad. See ya, Thoggy. Thanks for coming out, buddy. Sure, sure you can, Ferg. You're not. You're actually not the first person to ask me that on YouTube. Everybody seems to want to adopt. The first one was Base Mama, adopt me as her YouTube grandpa, although it's Papa. Sure, topical. Uh, I'll give you an example, and I'm not against it. Christianity needs taken to task, just like extreme atheism does. It needs to be taken to task. And just, geez, I've beat around a bush about it so far. I am a Christian, okay, but this is probably the one and only time you'll hear me say that. I don't want that to be what my YouTube channel is about. I don't want it to be what my basis is based on. That is my personal faith, and I keep it that way. I don't throw it in anybody's face, and I don't expect them to throw theirs in mine. There's a YouTuber coming up very soon that I'm going to be doing a guest spot on probably sometime this week um, that does a lot of anti-Christian content. And I like uh, I like a lot of people that have done anti-Christian content. I like Armored Skeptic, even though I've had a little beef with him lately. I do like his content. What I do is if I see that, I know it's not my cup of tea, I skip over it. You know, I've got thick enough skin that, yeah, we could still be friends. I might not watch it, but yeah, all the militant atheists just left. That's why one of the reasons I've kept it quiet. But you know, there are a lot more of the anti SJW so called community that are Christians that keep it quiet like I do because they do fear the reprisal. I know a lot of them. We talk about it in the after streams and so forth. So, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true, T Fizzle, but some of them can be. Some of them can. I just don't honestly see any reason why myself as a Christian and you as an atheist, why we can't get along and work together. Why does that have to be a sticking point between us to keep us from being friends or being able to work together? It's just my thought on it. Oh, well, geez, topical. That's no. I'm a Christian. I don't live by the Old Testament. So, yeah, you go for it. You're exactly right. Every group has their dickheads. You're absolutely right, crazy. Every one of them does. But I've had very long talks behind the scenes. Your boy Pat is open about being a Christian, and in behind the scenes in Base Mama's after parties, greatest after parties ever. By the way, if you've never been on one of her streams, it should be something on your bucket list. But very long talks about it. He's one of the few that's really open about it. And like I said, this stream will probably be the only time you'll ever hear me bring it up, because it's just it's just not what I want to be my main focus. Hey, Failure, how you doing? Was just piddling around trying to get this to work and figured, what the heck, might as well stick around and talk. So I'm just rambling. Yeah, I need to get busy tonight myself, Failure, before I go to bed. Of course, I'm an incurable insomniac. I'll probably be up till 5 or 6 in the morning anyway, just because I am. So I've got to get one out tonight. I haven't. I got got lazy over the holiday weekend, and yeah, I didn't do a heifer of the week. I didn't do a grump of the week or none of that. But I figured people would have to understand. I wanted to spend the time with my family. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep this going a little bit longer, but you're going to have to talk amongst yourselves for a second. The old man, he's got that old man's prostate, and when you got to go, you got to go. I'll be right back. All righty then. That's a load off my mind. Yeah, you should have. I'd have got you in here topical. I just started rambling and off I went. It's pretty hard to talk over me, dude. Trust me. In order to do what we do, we all have to be just a little bit egotistical. Yeah, but that's all right, Gunny. You are a senior, aren't you? Precious, stop. Sorry about that. Had to talk to the dog. He did say hi. Let's see, what have we not talked about? Oh yeah. What do y'all think about that Onision stuff? Do you think he's a pedo or just a creep? Did you see that old period boy Andy Pandy has come out in defense of him and admitted he didn't even watch the video? He just come out and defended him anyway, just because he's a weirdo. Yeah, my opinion is if it's not, uh, if he's not being a pedo, then he can say whatever he wants and he can talk about how innocent he is that he wants. But number one, he doesn't age restrict that forum where those pictures are being uploaded to. And number two, he could have went through at any time and should go through and remove any images of girls that are underage. Those girls are too young to understand that stuff is there forever and could come back to haunt them. Yeah, actually, I believe both of his wives were teenagers when he started dating them at the very least. Pedrophile. But yeah, but it just blows me away that old period boy Andy Pandy come out and has put a video out. I think Charming Man 93 done a video on it uh, where he's defending Onision, even though he admits he's not watched the video, so he doesn't know what's in it. Failure's made up a new term today. Goodness gracious. Yeah, that Andy's got issues. Um, I don't know if all of you've seen the fourth video that Bering put out on him. The one that he was in a live stream of some sort, and he was talking about that stuff and just had the most idiotic grin on his face. And his dad comes in and working around, and he's still talking about period stuff behind him. He's got issues. There's something wrong with that boy. I've never, speaking of Steve Shives, Ace, I've always wondered, I'm fairly new to Twitter. Um, yeah, everybody subscribe to failures this account. I haven't yet, but I'll get over there to it. But what was it? Oh, Steve Shives. Uh, I haven't went over to check to see if I'm blocked, but I'm pretty sure I probably am already blocked, given the people that I follow on Twitter. So most likely as not, I'm already blocked. But yeah, sometimes I almost feel sorry for Steve because it made a cameo. Uh, now she was digging at herself, and I told her to stop. She's a good puppy though. She's not really mine. She's my youngest daughter's. We're just watching her while they're waiting until they can get a place where they can have her. They just moved back from Hawaii, so uh, they're staying at my son's little 1-bedroom apartment, so they can't keep her there. So we got her here for a month or two, but she's pretty good little puppy. Little puppy, all 45 pounds of her. But I almost feel sorry for Steve sometimes. If you see that video with his wife, you could see the fear in the man's eyes. But then I remember, hey, he doesn't have to be in that situation. He can get himself out of it anytime he wants to. So then I don't feel sorry. An old bloodhound. Well, yeah, I love big dogs. I'm not too much for those little ankle biters. They're okay if that's your thing, but I like big dogs. Uh, this one here is just. If I wasn't such a noob, I'd show you. I'd screen share a picture for you. These are things I'm going to have to figure out as I go along. But she's I've showed pictures of her on my Twitter before. She's a pit bull Ridgeback mix. Um, she looks like a pit bull, but she has the most sweet personality. And the biggest coward, she's probably more likely to pee on you out of fear than bite you, unless it's her rawhide bone. Oh, she's protective of that. We can't let her have that when the kids are around because she will snap. But all in all, she's a pretty good dog. Yep, yeah, yeah. I call them ankle biters. My great grandmother had one of them little Chihuahua. I hate to admit that the little thing bit me on the ankle once when I was about 16, 15, 16 years old, and I booted that thing 2 rooms over. It was a reflex. But I've always had big dogs all my life. The last dog I owned that was mine was a Chesapeake, which is an offshoot, an offbreed of a black lab, but they have longer, wavier hair. Gorgeous animal, gorgeous dog, huge. Um, that one was about a 90-pound dog. Yeah, I figure a lot of them. I think I don't. If she wasn't a pit mix, I might not trust her so much, being as I've got 4 small grandchildren here. But she was raised with kids with my youngest daughter, and she's a mix, and she really doesn't have that temperament. Like I said, it's only that rawhide bone. There's something about when she gets that rawhide bone in her jaws, and she won't bite you and leave a blood or anything. But if she thinks you're reaching for that bone, you're going to get a nip. See you, T Fizzle. Thanks for coming out. But I think a lot of these savage dogs are a product of their raising as much as a product of their genetics. Now, granted, there is a genetic, seems to be a genetic fuse, if you will, in a lot of pit bulls where they just snap, but that's because they were bred for that. There was a time where German Shepherds and Doberman Pinschers were considered extremely dangerous dogs. Now you don't hear anything about them hardly anymore, and they're considered perfect family dogs. It's because we are now into a generation of them that has lost that viciousness. It's been bred out of them. Yeah, she's got a really big head. Yeah, that Amanda, I agree, and uh, she's I think it's pretty much been bred out of her. But like I said, she's not full blooded. She's a mix. She looks pit bull. I mean, you wouldn't know she's a mix to look at her. But she's got just enough of the Ridgeback in her that she's sweet. She's over here looking at me now, like, why are you talking about me? Labrador is one of my favorite breeds of dogs. I love labs, and I'm a huge dog nut. I am a sucker for dogs. I'm that guy that will walk up to the dog and say, "Oh, isn't she a pretty baby?" Yes, she is. I'll be looking for it. I'm going to be shutting down here in just a few minutes anyway. Gunny, speaking of the dog, she's starting to act like she wants out, and I can feel my voice starting to go. Well, how dare he, Amanda? How dare your kid want all of your attention? Good night, Russell. Good night. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. And thanks to all of you. I mean, I can't believe how many people showed up when I was just tinkering with this thing. See you, Gunny. But thanks to all of you. I was. That's what made me decide to go ahead and go live, because everybody that showed out when I was just trying to play with it, figure it out. I was amazed. I didn't think I'd get near that many people out for this old feller. This was spur of the moment failure. I was actually on and just trying to figure out how it all worked. I was trying to get OBS to work, and I never did. And I just said, screw it. I'll just do it this way. But yeah, it's a funny story that most of them here but you probably know. I was live and didn't know it, so they could see me all tinkering around on my desktop. But yeah, next time I'm playing one. Um and I'm going to send out more on Twitter and on Minds, and let people know it's coming. Well, thank you, Aurora. Amanda's my bae. Shh! Don't tell anybody. Her husband will hear. All right, fellas. I think I'm going to cut this short. The dogs almost pulled my headset off now, scratching at me to say, "Come on, take me out, Papo, take me out." So, oh, Jen, you just got here just as I'm shutting it down. I'm so sorry. How are you? Yep, next time. Hopefully, maybe before the week's out, I'll get another stream and I'll get all y'all to a little more advanced notice and we can do it then. You're stuck at the airport. Well, dear. Well, I hope he's not too much later, darling. I've done that stuck at the airport thing. But all right, I'm going to have to get out of here, guys, before the dog makes a mess that I don't want to clean up. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I'll see y'all. Get out of my yard.